Coming up in the news, a sharp increase in COVID cases on Grand Bahama. The Minister of State for Grand Bahama says this is something all should be concerned about. Members of the One Bahamas community paying tribute to a fallen community leader. And the Freeport city manager giving an update on cleanup efforts. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, new COVID-19 infections is showing a sharp increase here on Grand Bahama. Tonight, the Minister of State for Grand Bahama is calling for residents to remain vigilant and not let their guards down at this time. He says this recent increase is something we all should be concerned about. Minister of State for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, says that he is grateful that the island of Grand Bahama managed to keep COVID-19 numbers to a minimum in recent weeks. He commended residents for their collective efforts and self-discipline in achieving this feat. But unfortunately, recent Ministry of Health dashboards show that cases on Grand Bahama are slowly climbing.
However, the Ministry of Health reported 19 new cases for Grand Bahama in its daily COVID-19 report for October 22nd, 2020. This number indicates an increase which we should be concerned about and that we must get ahead of. As we now resume many of our daily activities and move into a greater sense of normalcy, I encourage Grand Bahamians not to let your guard down.
He says that although renovations are close to completion at the Ranch Memorial Hospital, health facilities are still very vulnerable. He adds that residents must continue to do their part in the rebuilding and reopening of the island's economy.
Our economy is still feeling the effects of previous lockdowns, and no one wants any further restrictions. This means you should wear your mask when you leave home, wash your hands frequently and thoroughly, sanitize frequently touched surfaces, and avoid large gatherings. Businesses must continue to enforce health protocols with employees and customers. In addition, I encourage the public to only rely on official sources for accurate news and updates. It is critical that we remain calm and avoid sharing false news as we navigate this new reality.
Minister Thompson adds that while many may be getting fatigued in this fight against the deadly virus, we must all keep it as a top priority.
Remember that we are still in the midst of a global pandemic and must continue to practice health protocols to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
The Freeport Primary School shutting down until further notice. Classes were dismissed at 1 p.m. today after a teacher reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. Now, education officials say the teacher was not at school for the past week, and they have closed the school out of an abundance of caution. Officials are expected to meet with the COVID-19 task force today to determine the way forward. In the meantime, the school will be cleaned and sanitized for the return of students at a date to be announced. The Ministry of Health releasing the latest COVID update. The numbers showing a total of 6,268 confirmed cases throughout the country, with 3,795 listed as recovered. According to the dashboard, 133 new cases were confirmed on October 22nd, 2 in Abaco, 2 in the Berry Islands, 1 in Eleuthera, 19 in Grand Bahama, and 109 in New Providence. Of the new cases, 48 are males and 85 are females. There are currently 122 persons hospitalized, 112 listed as moderately ill, and 10 persons are in the intensive care unit. Of the total hospitalized cases, 18 are in Grand Bahama, 5 are moderately ill, 4 persons are in ICU. There have been 130 deaths to date. The latest include a 51-year-old female of New Providence and a 50-year-old female of New Providence. 14 deaths are under investigation. The Minister of Financial Services, Trade and Industry and Immigration, the Honorable Ellsworth Johnson, presenting an update on pertinent issues within his portfolio on Thursday afternoon. While addressing the media, Minister Johnson noted that the perspective of the developing Grand Bahama into the tech hub of the country is extremely positive. He says that although the island took a beating following Hurricane Dorian, Grand Bahamians have shown great strength and versatility.
Via the Industries Commercial Enterprise Act and a number of legislations that we have passed, we're seeing that investors are still, despite COVID-19, very interested in Grand Bahama. I was delighted to announce the present consultant for arbitration, because that will play a key role in how we develop Grand Bahama and creating Grand Bahama as a arbitration international center to invite persons to come in. And as we've been collaborating with industry professionals and inviting persons to come to the Bahamas, especially in terms of our value proposition, being very close to the United States of America, stable jurisdiction, stable judiciary, persons are very interested. So I think we have to work. We have to sell ourselves as a stable, transparent jurisdiction where persons can come, live, and work.
He adds that he believes that persons do not fully understand the significance of the country's geographical location. He says there has been an uptick in economic permanent residents from around the world of persons willing to move their families and assets to live and work here.
We must ensure that we follow all international protocols. There's upheaval in Latin America. When you look at Hong Kong, and other countries in Asia, we have to be able to capitalize on those markets and those opportunities. The UK and other countries are doing just that. So through symposiums and putting persons out there, working closely with BFSP, we have the opportunity, and we are a leader in the financial services industry, but we must understand that the playing field, from your first question, is not always level. And onshore countries will try their best to keep resources and assets onshore, but we must create an environment where people feel comfortable, where the jurisdiction is clean for persons to continue to come. And we've demonstrated the versatility and ingenuity over the years. And so that's why we have a saying at the ministry is that failure is not an option. We don't give up. We dig in. And I think this is an opportunity for innovation and to take advantage of all the opportunities that present themselves to us. So I think we're in good footing to do that.
Well, we have an update tonight on the cleanup for Freeport. In this report, the city manager confirms that assistance from the DRA is going a long way in transforming the city. Jamila Mizik reports.
Cleanup efforts on the island going well, that according to GBPA Deputy Director and City Manager Troy McIntosh. He says the Grand Bahama Port Authority partnered with the Disaster Reconstruction Authority to accelerate cleanup within the city, and today they are in a much better state.
We drove into Regency Park and there were no sign of any debris in that area. Everything was moved. So other areas right now, the areas we're focusing on is East Section. We'll be in that area on Monday because obviously what we were doing is going and looking at where the volumes are and removing it and not really on the schedule per se, but make sure that everybody's covered within a week. And so that's gone really, really well. The other focus now that we're focusing on, which is our landscaping, our cutbacks, our signage, a lot of things that we have done to automate our process to make sure it's digital and that we could be more efficient to know exactly what's going on.
McIntosh says they've also created a digital inventory platform for signage called a dashboard.
If you call in to say a sign is missing, all we have to do is go on the dashboard and see if my inspectors pick that sign up because in there it will note that a bottom or a top is missing. And we will be able to say to you, the residents or the complainant, that that matter has been addressed or picked up. It's out to the vendors or the licensees for replacement. And so what it does, it put all of our subdivisions on an aerial map in your hand to be able to be more efficient with signage, for example. Okay? And we're about to do the same thing with bulk trash. We'll get to the point where as the guys drive out, they're not writing, but they're on a tablet and just tapping the lot to color code it to say debris is here, whether it's construction debris, where there's bulk trash or other, we'll be able to do that very efficiently, and they'll be able to complete that task a lot quicker.
The city manager says to date, they've spent about $15,000 in moving derelict vehicles. However, there still are a number of vehicles to be removed.
As you know, we had to create an additional 6 acres to house these because places like the Kent Motors and other areas were full. And so we basically jump into action, work with a licensee who leased the land to manage this. We're in the process of creating another location because that location is near full. And so the new location we'll announce at a later date, but hopefully we hope before mid-November to have it completed, and then we will announce to the public where that location is that they can take additional vehicles. We're saying to residents, if you have those vehicles, the location that you are to hire, well, the location to take it is Keith Street. You hire local licensees to take it to you, but we are asking them not to put it on the verge for that reason that obviously we're trying to clean up the city. At the end of the day, we will contact the owner of that, and of course at some point there will be a charge to them. So we're saying to them, don't place it there. We will find who owns the vehicle and eventually deal with that matter efficiently.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
In news from the crime beat, police locating a quantity of ammunition on Grand Bahama. Around 8 a.m. yesterday, officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit, acting on information, went to Coral Gardens, where they discovered 40 rounds of ammunition in nearby bushes. A short time later, officers of the Southwestern Division proceeded to Murchison Drive and Bruce Avenue. Police say the officers found 18 rounds of ammunition in bushes. No arrest was made. And now to West Grand Bahama, where that district continues to mourn the passing of a community leader and former local government practitioner. Members of the One Bahamas Committee are also paying tribute tonight. They say the fallen community leader will be remembered for his love of country. The original co-chairs of the One Bahamas Committee coming together to reflect on the life and contributions of the late Rosny Cooper. Cooper is described as one with great love for his country, island, and more specifically, the Western District of the island. Former co-chair Cecil Thompson says that when local government was established, it was as though the position was created just for Rosny Cooper.
Oh, did he serve? He had a passion fit. A passion fit. Every time Sir Owl came, it was my job as a district superintendent. The committee felt I should draw up the schedule. The first school he visited in '95 was 8 Mile Rock. Rosny Cooper never let anybody forget that, right, Terry? We're going to miss Rosny. We're going to miss him tremendously. Grand Bahama's going to miss him. The country is going to miss him. He stood for West Grand Bahama when West Grand Bahama didn't have anyone to stand. He spoke for them when they didn't have anyone to speak, right? He just had a passion for service. Rosny Cooper.
Co-chair Terry Gape remembering Cooper as one who made tremendous contributions to the Bahamas and his community. He says Cooper will be sorely missed by the entire One Bahamas organization.
And he was one that always stood up, as Chairman Cecil has said, for the West. Whenever we had any functions, he always made sure that the West was taken care of. And we were happy to do it, of course, because we had our best visitations in the West as everywhere else. But there's a very sad occasion here today because we meet to offer condolences to Rosny's wife and his family, and to let them know that his contribution to us and to the Bahamas has been great, and it's appreciated.
And when it comes to love for island and community, co-chair Churchill Tanner Knowles echoes those sentiments that Cooper always made sure that the Western District was represented and included.
Rosny is going to be missed from One Bahamas, more particularly from Grand Bahama and West Grand Bahama. There's one thing about him, he's like me when it comes to Eleuthera. Palmyra Point is my home. When he came to Rosny, West End, Grand Bahama, 8 Mile Rock was his home. And he stood up for that. And he made sure that whenever anything was happening with the One Bahamas Committee, that West Grand Bahama was a part of that. And so he's going to be missed tremendously.
Cooper died at his residence in 8 Mile Rock on October 15th. He will be laid to rest on November 7th. Former Member of Parliament for West Grand, Bahama and Bimini, David Wallace, is inviting those who worked with and loved Cooper to submit virtual tributes.
I guess I'm still somewhat shocked because I figured the least was he could do was say to me, man, I cashing out. Or as Mr. Thompson would say, you going upstairs. But it has been a shock. And so I've never seen so much outpouring of the community spirit. We held a meeting last week, Saturday, and some 20 plus persons gathered to help in putting together this funeral service for him. And so we're looking at a wonderful 1 hour, hour and a half service. We're going to look at doing some virtual tributes to him.
Rosny Cooper was fondly described as the gold standard when it comes to local government leadership and a man that had passion for his community and for service.
Good evening. My name is Prophetess Shirley Stubbs, Assistant Pastor of Universal Household of Faith, right here in Freeport, Grand Bahama. I want to leave these encouraging words. It comes from the book of Psalms, chapter 27, a few verses, in your spirit this evening to let you know that God is concerned about everything that you're dealing with, everything that you're going through in these unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. Psalms 27, verse 1 says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Verse 3 says, "Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident." Verse 5 says, "For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock." Yes, as you hear me this evening, God is that rock. And on Christ, the solid rock, we must stand, because all other ground is sinking sand. And so I want you to be encouraged that even as we continue to process this global pandemic that the world and even indeed the Bahamas finds itself still in, God is in the midst. He is our light. He is our salvation. There is no need for us to fear. There is no need for us to panic. All we need to do is to continue to trust in the Lord God Almighty. And whether you believe it or not, even in times of uncertainty, God already has a path mapped out for us. Hold on and hold out, because I believe that the strength that God is giving you right now is going to cause you not to faint. God bless you.
Help continues to pour in for schools and students.
The Buddy Heald Foundation putting smiles on the faces of teachers and students. We'll tell you how right after this break.